Last time on CiP.
MC Escher and Neckbeards.
That ear looks a little pointed. Am I right?
That's a hand.
Oh, it's a hand. Okay.
This is yours.
I'm guessing she's alive.
This week we are joined by Stan Thomas, co-founder of Nerds With Melanin. Just search for Nerds With Melanin on Facebook.
And all of a sudden, God punched you in the face.
Yeah, actually I had a drum solo and I was on the drum line. Went up, my time to shine.
Nice.
Got going, went drumstick, threw it to the front row.
Oh no.
Did it hit somebody? Did it hit anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it hit anyone. I couldn't see. I was just kind of just smiling and just using one drumstick. Just
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
But at least you tried to save it.
That's fair.
One of my
You
boys
tried.
kind of stole the show for me, and I was just like, "Well, thanks, I guess."
Yeah, thanks. I guess that's like having a date with the prom queen, but you show up late, and your boys dates her for you. It's like, thanks, I guess. Jesus, oh my God.
Yes.
Well, speaking of prom queens, Nathan Beatty Jr. III, you are our prom queen.
Yes.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm surviving thus far through the life, I guess. Is this, it's one of these days you're going to ask me that question. I'm going to go, hey, this is fantastic. Today is not that day.
No, that's why I always ask you. You remind me a lot of the Inside Out, the little red character that just like his. I want
fire
fire
coming out of my
your
head.
Yes, I wanted to see it happen so badly.
Oh my God.
It hasn't happened yet. I'm waiting. One of these days it will happen.
Talking about an emotional mind fuck, that movie. Jesus Christ.
Anyway. That Pixar kids movie. What an emotional mind fuck. It's on the posters.
They're very fond of doing that.
Seriously.
Make a kid movie for kids, but then there's something for the adults, and that something is depression.
Yeah. No, yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's funny. My son is always like, I want to watch Bing Bong. I want to watch Bing Bong. And I'm like, yeah, we'll watch Bing Bong. It's okay.
So I will neither admit nor deny that I cried watching that scene every time.
Oh shit! I ugly cried on that scene. I think about that scene and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God! It's so like, wow. Why would you put this in a movie? Why would you put it in a movie?
For the emotional devastation.
For the emotional devastation.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
God.
Well, on that positive, beautiful ass note.
Yes. Yes.
Shall we get into it?
We shall. I think we shall. So we're doing characters. So I know we have one character already on the on the block here, and that would be Stan. You said you had your character, so can you go ahead and grab us one?
So my Flex. Wow. So I said I wasn't gonna go down a rabbit hole with Flex, but I kind of have to.
Do it.
Do it.
So Flex is from the main planet in my lore, named Acheron. Okay, and Acheron right now, during Flex's, I guess, climax in his story, where it all began, in a war. His father is actually fighting in this war, and he recently just died. He was on the front lines of it. The village got overran. He died. So now, Flex in his village now is custom for them to the next in line. Your father goes off to war. The next in line to protect their family. On Acheron's villages or nations are separated by different elements. We're gonna say Flex is from the Gravity Nation, just to be vague about it, right? He's from the Gravity Nation. His ability is mass manipulation. One day he was training. He was out training because he says, you know what, my father's gone. I have to step up for my family, right? So he's out training. He hears an explosion. He sees smoke coming from his village. So what is this? What's going on? Like, I know we have our army stationed to the west. So how are they attacking us here? What's happening? He goes back to the village and he sees it's his own allies attacking the village. What's happening? What's going on? He goes back to his family, his home. His mother and sister are not there. He's ransacking the entire village now. He's running through. He's going to his neighbors. Hey, have you seen them? Have you seen them? They're all distraught, holding their loved ones. What's going on? Flex finds his mother, his sister. They're dead.
Mm.
At that point, what do I do? I failed. Like, I couldn't protect my village. I couldn't protect my mother. I couldn't protect her. The assailants are still there. The ones who did this, they are dressed in Aharon imperial clothing. They're members of the army. What's going on? How could you guys do this? They instantly turn on Flex. But Flex notices something different about them as he's fighting them. Now, Flex's ability, what's unique about Flex is he's 21 years old, tall, slender, lanky build. But he has holes in his hands. He has a hole. Well, he has one hole on each hand, one hole in the center of his forehead that is covered by his hair, by his afro. And then he has holes on his elbows, knees, and on each foot. And in the center of this hole is a orb, a small dance, kind of like a magnet, you can say, or a marble. And what this is control the density and the mass of his limbs. So he can essentially throw a punch that is weightless, and then as soon as it makes contact, it can weigh up to a ton because he's able to just transition the force between the limbs. So are you guys familiar with Samurai Champloo? Seen any Samurai?
Hell yeah.
Even Nate's aware of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how Mugen fights with his swords, but just hands and feet and elbows and strikes only. Like, he's very unorthodox. He uses the ability to shift his weight to gain momentum, to sometimes seem like he's flying. And I think that's an outfit change I kind of want to give him, but I won't really go down there. Yeah, so Flex, he sees these guys. He's in a rage. He's upset. He's hurt. This just happened to his village. He's obviously, I have to do something about this. You guys aren't getting it. So he's fighting them. He's trying to get answers from them, but they are not responding to him. They're totally different. He's, what's going on with you? Like, snap out of it. He ends up killing one. The next one kills him. Stop it. Like, come on, guys, what's happening? They end up grabbing him because they outnumber him. We'll say it's like 10 of them. He starts taking him down. It's a whole platoon, right? He starts taking him down, but they outnumber him. They grab him from behind. They tell him, what will you do now? You can't move. You can't do all this acrobatic stuff. They start telling him, this is it. Everyone else is dead. It's just you. That's when he reveals the orb behind, or the ball behind his head, and goes weightless, throws his head back, hits the guy behind him, and then just headbutts the guy in front of him, right? With this crazy. Now, like, boom, that ends it. Now everyone's just like, dang, okay, this kid's the real kid. Shortly after this, the reinforcements arrive. The Aharon Imperial Army, the good guys, the real good guys, come up. They're like, what happened here? They see that Imperial soldiers are dead. All the Flex covered in their blood, a dead body in front of him, blood on his head because he just headbutted somebody, and all these dead people. And he's, what? So they take Flex to the king. We arrived at this village. It was under attack. We don't know how. This young man, this guy, this young soldier this young inhabitant of the Gravity Nation is there, and all these soldiers were dead. Now, the king, he's in a tough position because the way in my lore is he's basically just the strongest. They said, you know what, you are the chosen one. You are meant to lead these people because you are the strongest among them. And this started that war. One other who felt like the king didn't deserve that. He got given the title of king as favorite of the council that picked him. So he kind of started the civil war, the cursed war, is what it's called. He gets brought in front of the king. Flex is there, and Avrion, the king, he says, well, Look, I got my hands full already. You understand what happened? What your village getting attacked means? Like, we are into war. This is the weapon. My daughter is missing, and I have no means to get her back. And they just brought him, Flex, who just wiped out a whole platoon of these cursed by himself. And at this point in his life, he feels as though he's a failure. He can't protect anybody. He just wants to die. He's ready to accept any punishment that he's given, because on Ahiron, it is extremely to betray and to murder your own. So the fact that this war was even happening was just crazy. Like, they was unprecedented. They weren't really even prepared for this kind of thing to happen, which is why Flex was apprehensive to even attack Imperial soldiers. He was like, wait, stop, don't do this. But yeah, so Avrion, the king, has to go after the one who started all this, Mercury, who is the other one, or the other origin people is what they're technically called. That one of the only other origin person who was on his level to be named king. So he had to go find him. The only way to get Mercury, because Mercury was, his ability was, he was a speedster. So he traveled through Ahiron and at an alarming rate, and he would just ransack different nations. He would use his armies that he was turning to create, to spread his devastation throughout Ahiron, so he can grab a bigger and better foothold. So Avrion says, I have to go stop him. I have to go find him, cut him off at the source. But my home base is not secure. My daughter's missing. My son is missing. They are the next in line for the throne. If I die, they have to keep order here. And so at that point, Avrion tells Flex, if you find and protect my daughter, I will clear your name. Like, you work with me, I will work with you. Like, none of this. We're at war right now. Nothing you did before matters if you did it for the sake of your country, for the sake of your people. Like, I understand, I of all people. Because at the same time, like I said, Avrion, he had no practice at being king. He was just wrong. He was just a prodigy. That was it. He didn't even want it. He didn't want the title. He fell in love with the woman who trained him and was like, we're just gonna have a happy life. And then this war happened. So now he's kind of learning on the fly.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
And so I'm guessing the story starts this. So, we'll go ahead and clock it there. So we leave something left for us to do, for us to build around a character.
Mhm.
Ari, I'm guessing you have enough there to kind of fill in the gaps. Based on what I've seen, you've just about drawn the character.
I was going to say there's a lot of gaps she's filled in right now, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. So,
Yes.
but well, real quick. So, are we? I think that. And first, wow, that is an amazing story that I want to experience a couple of times at least,
Right.
with like full visuals and big budget and all of that.
Yes.
So thank you.
Popcorn.
So my question is, so are we going to take Flex and put him into just a random story, or are we going to try to tell a story within this world that Stan has created? What's the plan there?
We because, as you could tell from what Stan said, that is a very fleshed out, fully realized world that we are not. Stan knows like the back of his head, but the rest of us don't. So it'd be very hard for us to really, all of us, to get into it. The best thing we can do is, based off of how well a vivid picture Stan painted of Flex for us, we can put Stan in a different scenario. The same thing if you were writing Infinity War and you had, Spider-Man, you could put him in that movie and know how to write it. That's what we're going to do with Flex today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go ahead and put Flex, the more or less that iteration right there of Flex. The story, I'm sure, it seems like it's an epic. I'm guessing, right? Stan's the longer story.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting that Flex. You mentioned he was in his early 20s or 21, I think. Yeah. We'll have it that this is 21-year-old Flex at the beginning, right after he's more or less. He's still somewhat new to his powers and abilities, but he's definitely has them and has used them, has killed before. he's still somewhat self-loathing, but also he's accepted the fact that he's trying to move forward. So he may be somewhat depressed, but this is our character. So that is our archetype number one.
Okay.
And we can go forward from there. So we can, and for everyone wondering, the reason Stan is actually here is because Stan is, we wanted Stan to come on with his own character, and we were going to kind of put that character into a different kind of a story, essentially. Give him a platform to introduce his character to the rest of the world, and we would bring him to life. Ari would actually illustrate him, and we'd actually, have fun with his character, play around with his character. But it's a character he created, and we're actually going to have a contest coming up pretty soon, where anyone else can have the same opportunity. If you're a writer or a creator, and you have a character in mind that you want to have brought to life and put into a great story for others to listen to, then we will help you get there. That's what we're doing for Stan today.
Please take advantage of it.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
Please do. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
So we have
real quick before we get into the nitty gritty. You mentioned that Flex has a long black fro, but I want to know how long. Is this length okay, or is it longer?
It could be longer. That's perfect.
Okay.
I love it.
All right. I'll try a little longer then.
And Ari is obviously well known for being just the worst artist and never doing anything anyone ever says. So
how'd you know?
Like, this is so, like, that looks so dope. I just wonder how it would look, honestly.
Well, it's only gonna get more dope. I'm gonna get more dope. All right. So Nathan Beatty Jr., would you want to? Should we get into the? You have a question?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, so now we have the main character of the story that we're going to put in, but we need to create a shell. So how much of the shell do we want to leave up to the dice, and how much of the shell do we want to allow?
I say everything
dice?
else. Everything else.
Everything
is
else?
up to the dice.
Okay.
Everything else is up to the dice.
All right.
Yeah. We have our main protagonist, but everything else is up to the dice.
Okay. All right. And we can do like a thing where it's like, Portal gets, sucks him into another realm or something if we have to. If it ends up being like a, Jane Eyre period piece, we can, do different universes. Okay, so what's the dicage? What am I doing? What's the number for genre?
So genre is 10. It's
10.
genre.
Okay. All right. 1D. Oh, the enter doesn't work on this site. Okay.
That's all right.
1.
Still very pretty.
1.
And now the thing is, we have.
Bingo.
Hey, congratulations. We haven't updated this list, but I think we're okay with what we have. So it's
every time he says that, I go, "Oh God."
No, here's the thing. Here's the beautiful dilemma we're in. We have never done this genre, and I love it to pieces. And I believe, but I'm not entirely sure that Flex can work in it, but I think he can. I know he can.
Okay, well, what is it though?
It's all together cyberpunk.
Wow.
Yes.
What do you mean he can't work in cyberpunk? What's wrong with you? Of course he can.
Of course he can. I'm an idiot that's nowhere near as pretty as Stan. So yes, you're right. A Flex can definitely work in cyberpunk. So that's our genre.
Okay.
Go ahead and lock that one in, Nate.
All right.
So I love that genre so much. I wanted to make
it is in. Okay. And then setting, same 1d10 for setting?
Yes, another 10 for setting.
Okay. Oh, geez, we're not doing that again. I said 1 again. I'm sorry, dice. I'm overruling you and I'm throwing you again.
Overruling the dice. Overruling fate itself.
Objection.
Okay. The balls are Nate. The balls are Nate. Okay.
5.
Okay, now this is when because again, I didn't update this properly. So it says bar or tavern, which we did before.
Yeah, which we did.
Yeah, I didn't update it.
Okay, so I'm throwing it again.
Swap it out or so again. Okay.
4.
Yeah. Okay, now this actually fits along with our character. Small town. So it's a small town in Cyberpunk universe.
Just a small town boy
baby.
living in a cyberpunk world.
And there's no copyright for that song because it's all original.
I don't know what you're talking about. I made that up.
It's 100% you did.
Okay.
All right. And then the next one is just the time period. So this is the D4. We'll just label it.
To the present.
Interesting.
Jeez.
Interesting. Stan, your story is a fantasy epic, more or less. What if you had to kind of ballpark the time period? Would it be future, past, present?
Well, that is beautiful, Ari. But
thank you.
There's so many timelines in my verse, honestly. So present would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Present.
You can play fast and loose.
Cool. You can play fast.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is literally creativity in progress. So it's about as fast and loose as it gets. All right, brother. And for this one, I thought we were going back to the old school archetype list. So it's a full list. I have or you wanted to go just T100, you can, but I have the full list up right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll do the 100 at a time. Like now, the full list that's almost 300, right?
Yes, it's almost 300.
Okay.
So we can do 100 at a time.
Yeah, I'll do 100 at a time, and then for every one that goes like for the first 100, second 100, third 100, just because damn bell curves. Anyway,
the bell curve.
That's another one of our catchphrases. Is
Don't
damn
bring
bell
math
curves.
into this.
They brought themselves into this one. They didn't like us.
All right. 46.
Ooh, that's a good sounding number. I'm sure we've gotten it before, but I think it works. So we did get it. You know what's funny? It's coward. Did we have coward? Yeah. Did we have coward? That other time we did a sci-fi story, wasn't that? No, that was clown. That was clown.
So
we did not have
No, we didn't
coward's
have
fine.
a coward.
Coward. Okay, we can do coward. Coward works. Okay, coward works. We're doing
Yes.
coward. We're doing coward. Okay. And that's for archetype number 2, because archetype number 1 is just Stan's character, and then we'll do archetype number 3 just so we have some other.
Okay.
Something to throw
All
in.
right. And then we'll do. So this is for the 100. So I'll throw it again in this, and I'll give you the number. 169.
Good.
169.
Good.
Otis said we had coward on my episode.
Okay.
So yes.
We did have it before.
Okay.
Okay. So we overrule that then? Should we overrule coward?
Yes, I think we should overrule coward. Do whatever 169 is, and we'll.
So 169 we're keeping because we have
Nice.
not done it before, and Ari loves that number. But also, it's a good roll. It's non.
I'm just saying nice. There's nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
The 169 is non-conformist, and that seems like a good if we're trying to paint the picture for a combatant for flex. A non-conformist could work, I think. Or if we need to, we could say that flex is, but that's not really a different kind of thing. He's not really a non-conformist. So we have that one. Go ahead and roll it again, Nate. For
Okay.
if you want, you can do the back 100.
Yeah. So this is the last 75.
Good number.
75.
That sounds crisp. I know we have never rolled that before. And it's environmentalist. Okay.
Oh, that could work in a
That could work.
cyberpunk.
It can work for either way,
World.
actually. Either for part of Stan's character or the other character we're doing. Or it
Nice.
could be two different characters. One's an environmentalist, one's a nonconformist.
Sorry,
I'm locked them in too.
my locking in is undoing everything.
No worries about that. Okay, so just a quick rundown for everyone keeping track. The genre we have is cyberpunk, not 2077. Don't want to get sued already. The setting is a small town. The time period is actually the present. Archetype number 1 is just flex. Calling it flex. Archetype number 2, we are going with an environmentalist. It's a hard word to spell. God. Yeah, that's close enough. And then archetype number 3 is the nonconformist. Okay. So that was locked in. Cool deal. So my first thought is, of course, since Flex is obviously our protagonist, we can use the other 2 archetypes to presumably at least have one of them be someone that he's going against, either an actual nemesis or the main villain of this particular story. That's my first thought. Ari, you had a good point. You said if we're going cyberpunk and we have an environmentalist, it seems like a natural fit that the environmentalist would be kind of against the progression of technology. Also, it works hand in hand that an environmentalist would also be nonconformist in a world that's obsessed with technology. So
Yeah.
that can be the one thing. Is we're pitting Flex against, I don't know, like Poison Ivy in the future or something like that kind of thing. Okay. So let's see. So this I do see, and I'm not. This is not lore at all. I do see Flex after he's lost everything because he lost his family and his world of war. Basically, he's kind of like a wanderer. So almost like a Yojimbo or a man with no name type of a hero, where he's in and of himself. He's just trying to stick to himself, do his own thing. You mentioned Samurai Champloo with Mugen. And Gene, they're very much like, just don't F with me, I want to F with you. But he may get drawn into a battle or a war or a scenario. So maybe he's just doing his thing in it's the small town as well. He maybe is kind of wandering into the small town and in the cyberpunk world, and something's amiss. And he still he's not too concerned, but something eventually has to something's going on in this town first, I guess, is the problem. What do you see happening in a small town in the cyberpunk world that could be
a small town in a cyberpunk world? Flex is new to it.
Yeah.
He's wearing rags, things covering his body. He doesn't want to really stand out in the punk world because he's a traveler, a wanderer. He comes across this small village of nonconformists who aren't with the cyberpunk thing. They don't want to be a part of it. They're living their own world. But small village of environmentalists who aren't with the cyberpunk movement of what's kind of happening, the way the town is changing, everything is around them. So if there's like the nonconformists, they're moving in on this small village to take it over, to make it the next like cyberpunk shopping mall or parts mall or something like that, or whatever it may be. And now Flex, and maybe he gets involved in this whole situation, even though he doesn't want to. He's just a traveler. He's just passing by. But now, due to how he is as a person, protecting, stepping in because he didn't in the past. He wasn't there when he needed to be. He kind of feels like he has to.
That's good. That's a good thing. I love the idea of it being, as opposed to the villains being the nonconformists. The villains are essentially, it's just a small town just trying to keep to itself, keep to its own roots, its own traditions or whatnot. But they're basically, like you said, the corporation, the Gestapo, was trying to come in there and tell them what's what. And Flex is more or less like, I'm just going to keep moving on. This is not my business. But he has like a flashback with being like, he feels guilty, responsible because he didn't do what he could have done before. And it kind of draws him out in a way. That's a good setup right there. It's a perfect setup right there. Also, it sets up the idea that he's going to be, it's one versus many, which since he has the abilities he does, he can shine in that regard. Yeah. Okay. So one thing that tends to happen in stories, we don't have to do this, but what tends to happen is there's a kind of an anchor, like a person that that Flex would encounter in the town that he would kind of take a liking to, not romantically or maybe romantically, but just someone that he would kind of connect with on some level. And when that person, of course, asks for his help or tells him about the situation, he, of course, rejects the call at first. And then something could possibly happen to that person or kind of draw him in to make him really, he could almost see, for example, you mentioned his family getting killed. It could be he sees one of his family members in this person that he's talking to or something.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was going to suggest, didn't you mention that there was a younger sibling involved? So, yeah, little sister. So it could be maybe a little girl that maybe a little bit older than what his little sister would have been, to kind of give the impression like, okay, a little bit of time has passed. So his little sister would have been the same age as this girl. And he has that connection, but he pushes at first because he's like, too much. But then when shit starts to really hit the fan, then he feels like, oh, I need to, because I don't want this to happen again. Maybe.
Absolutely.
And
But, go ahead, Stan.
Like, I like that name because I can see if he saw a little bit of his sister as well as him in that moment, because say this girl wanted his help, but when he turned her down, she went and made a move on her own. And he's just like, like, I don't have to protect her. She's saying, I don't need your protection. I'll really go out and do this myself. And Flex is like, dang, well, if you die, like, I'm gonna have to live with that shit because so that's the thing.
I love what both of you guys said, and it's to piggyback off of both of you guys because I'm a mooch. You could have it that there is a person that's like his sister, reminds me of his sister, and she's pretty much she seems pretty tough already. Like, she's not really asking for help. She's like just stating what she's gonna do, and Flex is pretty much keeping his distance from her, and he pretty much sees her going off like, I see those those goose-stepping morons over there with all their super tech. I'm gonna go over there and F them up, and she goes off to get ready to do her thing, and Flex is watching her try to fight them and lose, essentially. So he's watching her trying to handle herself but getting destroyed. And the guards don't even take her seriously because she's a younger person. And they're pretty much like, okay, enough is enough. And they're pretty much getting ready to pull a bullet in her face, more or less. And that's when Flex kind of kicks into high gear and jumps in there and stops it from happening. But simply by doing that, by intervening, that's kind of, it's a declaration of war, essentially.
So that puts him in the part where he's like, well, I got to do something now, because if I don't, then
like, this girl, we know what village she's from. We're just gonna go destroy the whole village now, and problem once and for all.
Right, right, exactly. And it may be a situation where Flex isn't necessarily even in the village. They could be in the cyberpunk city of some kind, like the Chicago 2077. That's not copyrighted. They're inside this city, but this girl is kind of just talking all this shit basically, and Flex is there, and she goes and tries to start some shit with these guards, and he intervenes, and the girl says, "Come with me," pretty much like, "Hey, come with me to my village," essentially, and they run off. Now, it is in the cyberpunk world, even in the present world, we have cameras everywhere. So the cameras catch Flex; they see who he is, more or less. And he has to pretty much leave with this girl, otherwise he'd get hit by the entire city. So they run off to her small town, her village, essentially.
I like flying drones too, kind of flying around.
Yeah, we have those as well. We have flying drones. So yeah, all these things already more or less exist too. So yeah, he and so by basically inadvertently, Flex and this girl have also brought a war to their small town. So in keeping in line though with Flex's lore, what should we name it? What should we call this town, Stan? The small town.
Cyberpunk world.
We can call it Cyberpunk World if we want, but I mean, yeah, you had those in that story you just told us. Those names are put my names to shame. So I think you have to come with a better one.
No, honestly, how long it took me to come up with that.
Fair.
Hey, for the longest, man. I'm trying to think. Small planet.
Small planet?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call it Small Planet then. That's fine. We can call it Small Planet. So they quote unquote retreat to the small town of Small Planet. Okay.
Okay. That's what we'll call it. Oasa. I like that.
Oasa. That's it. Oasa.
Damn.
Oasa. See, he did it off the top of his head. He tried to be doing the playing coy and like he's he's much more than that. Okay. So they retreat to the small town of Oasa. All right. And obviously the little girl goes full. I mean, we're saying she's probably like what, 11 or 12. She's still young enough to be called a girl, but old enough to know things. And when she goes back to the town with Flex, she starts pontificating Oasa. She starts pontificating like a presidential candidate or something. She's like, "Oh, this guy, he did this and this," and Flex was crazy. He came in and just popped everybody off, and she starts doing all the sound effects and everything else. She's really, really into the story and builds Flex up like to be some kind of a god, essentially, to the point where Oasis is like, "Oh, you're the one we've been waiting for. You're the chosen one. We need you to protect this town." And Flex is like, "Nope. I don't. I mean, as you just said before, he's like his knee-jerk reaction is, "That's not me. I don't do that. I am not trying to do that stuff."
Nopetopus.
Nope. Yes, exactly. So we can go that route first. And while Flex is there, he can see just how peaceful this town is, and but also how compared to the big city of Chicago 2077, how they're just such a massive juggernaut that there's no reality in which it could handle them. And it reminds him again, like you said, of his backstory, where it was a very similar situation where he lost his family and friends in his town, basically to the Gestapo of another kind.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
So I thought you had to try that idea, Nate. Sorry.
Yeah, it was an idea that it was there. It left, but it came back, which is rare. So I was thinking, I think it would be interesting to have a character that is in the town that is kind of maybe like I don't know if the character is like a sheriff or something that. Maybe not a sheriff. I don't want to make the guy official, because I kind of want to make him like a mini antagonist, to kind of be like he shows up and he's like, who the hell is this guy? Like what the heck? And like he's very antagonistic to Flex, I think, at first. Yes. And when Flex is like, yeah, no, I don't want to do it. And he's like, okay, yeah, then go, But then because of everything that you just said, that Flex sticks around, and it kind of becomes a little bit of a thing. And so then you have the big bad of the, oh, people are going to this place is going to get raised in a couple of weeks. And then you have the mini bad of this guy who's trying to get Flex out of there because he wants to be the hero. Like this guy wants to be the hero for the thing.
Yes, and he's definitely, he's always, I see him as I was standing around folding his arms like Vegeta, looking at him all the time. Like, how dare you come in here with your gorgeous afro and marble, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Suddenly sexual tension.
Why is it so hot in here? Why is it so hot in my apartment? Yeah, but I definitely like the idea, because also one thing too, I see this at the mini antagonist. We'll call him, we can call him like Mugen or something like that. But the Sheriff Mugen sees Flex, and he's like, yeah, go ahead, just leave, go, do your thing. And by him pretty much egging him on to leave, he may even call him coward, since he did roll that before. He may call him coward, may call him afraid, may call him a whole bunch of things, telling him to leave, saying how pretty much he's deliberately trying to get him to go. But by saying all these things, it just makes Flex, it kind of forces Flex to think about things that much more, which kind of forces him to eventually say, all right, forget you, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And if Flex brings about some character development in the interior guy as well, like, look, man, like, you got it, bro. You could have been protecting your people before I got here. You know, you were more than capable of doing it. I want to see you do it. I'm not here to, step on anybody.
Yeah.
And if that full circle where Flex didn't make it in time, and girl was just about to get, put a freaking bullet, and then you hear the gunshot, but it's guy. It's the the little bad who manages to save the girl right before Flex could, and Flex, says like, right on. Or maybe he has Flex's back and where Flex is about to get got, and he's like, I am worth it. So he's like, okay, that was his moment of, maybe I can do this. You know what I mean?
That's his arc. I love that. That also makes me think, to get deeper into that, it could be that he's pissed off, that Sheriff Mugen's pissed off because Flex brought this war to them. He's like, we've survived as long as we have because we've been anonymous. We've been out of their reach. They haven't known about us. But because of you and what you've done, you brought all this harm on us. We're all going to die because of you. Way to go, asshole. So he's pretty much very much opposed to doing anything. He's like, the best thing we can do is stay as quiet and silent as possible. But you had to screw all that up. So his arc is actually stepping forward to do something, to actually be a hero himself. In a lot of ways, Flex in this story, he's like Mad Max, and he's the flat arc kind of a character. It's not really about him learning or growing too much. It's about him affecting the town around him. So the whole town basically is going to take up arms and become a much better powerhouse to fight with, essentially, too.
Yeah, I get an idea of, and it doesn't even have to be shown in this story. It could almost be like a story that's told by an elder to Flex about how, like recently there's been these things happening that could be stopped if this sheriff, you know, stood up for the town, but he doesn't because he doesn't want to make waves. But and it's like costing lives, or it's costing, you know, like resources or whatever. And Flex is you know, and that comes up in one of the fights. Like, you could be protecting your town, and the guy's like, I'm letting it happen so that way we can survive. You know, it's like the needs of the many over the few kind of situation. And you know, and have something like that as well to like really cement that's an arc for this character, which I think is very interesting.
It's great because it does have the arc for the sheriff, but also it's great because we do have two opposing sides, a true rivalry with like a full blown, again, Vegeta and Goku or whatever.
So I was just thinking it's very anime shonen rivalry, and I'm totally about that.
Shonen rivalry, but that's perfectly cool. But I mean, it's for the story, but we're seeing two opposing sides, and neither of them in their own are wrong, because by doing this, Flex is now, it's a small town, doesn't have that much training or arms. They going to have to defend themselves against an army of sorts. So I see both. There's merit in what both sides are saying. Flex is right in that you do need to be strong and courageous to stand up for yourself. However, the sheriff is right in that for those who can't do that, bringing upon danger upon themselves is a detriment.
And then, like, interesting, Flex to take arms against the people who he never had a chance to prepare his village to take arms against the army. They thought they were safe. It was a village full of, you know, just civilians. Yes. Everything would be fine, and then everything was just snatched away from him. So Flex realized, like, I have a second chance to help them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you just gonna deals with them before they ultimately wipe you out, or what? So I like.
Yes, it's perfect. So of course, this is going to get to my favorite thing of all favorite things, which is a training montage. We had that training montage. A training montage, full 7 samurai with Flex training the city. Flex and the little girl, more or less, training the city. I see the little girl kind of being like his sidekick in a way. Although almost she's the more vocal one. She's the one that has the big mouth and she's doing all the stuff. And Flex is much more cool and laid back. But it's the two of them that are really pushing the rest of the city, the rest of the town, Oasa, you know, to take up arms and do stuff and learn how to fight and everything else. So yeah, that'd be a lot of fun having that. And one thing too you mentioned right there, Stan, was the idea of him reflecting about the things he didn't do. Does Flex have like a totem or a charm or something that he kept, like a keepsake he kept from his original hometown?
I feel like I don't know what that would be. But I definitely feel like he should have something.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if we're going Shonen Jump style, we got to go and give him something like that too. Why stop? Yeah. And we can figure out that detail out later. But okay, yeah. I definitely like that idea, and it could be. Obviously, Flex there's a lot of guilt that he's carrying around with him in doing these things. So pretty much there are times when he's talking to the sheriff that the sheriff will probably get under his skin and get to him. I'm seeing the sheriff having some guilt or some baggage too. For the sheriff to be that opposed to doing anything, he must have had some loss as well. Something happened in his story. What's going on with the sheriff?
It can just how dark you really. Yeah, I do like that. A hair ornament, maybe like a clip for his hair or something that belonged to his sister. Okay. Like long hair. Also like a bandana or a scarf that she wore. But gosh, sorry, I got sidetracked. What was?
No, that's perfect. I mean, a hair clip or a bandana is perfect. But I was just saying that typically, not always, but typically for a person to be that opposed, that's A, you're the sheriff. But B, you're also that opposed to doing anything to cause kick up dust. Something must have happened in this guy's backstory too. He must be really scared. It's bred in fear. He's scared for something or another. If there's baggage there, do you want to go into any of that story at all? We don't have to like flesh it out or have a flashback, but it's just for us to know what his backstory is. Do you want to have anything for the sheriff?
Nate, do you have anything?
I have a thought, but it looks like you got some. Do you have anything?
Go ahead first, please.
Okay. What I was thinking was with the sheriff, have it be that he was so whatever this monolithic, evil that is coming. He at one point either was a fighter against it or a part of it.
There we go. Yes. Yeah. That's okay.
And then
that's
essentially, like, and it could be general, like at this point, it's frankly just, like spin the wheel, pick a family member, pick a tortured type to death and throw it at him. And that happened because of a choice he made by either fighting against or being a part of this evil. Yes. And that has caused him to go, I need to hide. I need to go and hide and never let any of this happen again. Kind of like Magneto in the Apocalypse movie.
Yeah,
like he was just like, I'm gone.
Apocalypse, but yeah, I know what you mean. Aside from the bad movie aside, I know what you mean. Yeah.
We can add where like this cop or whatever, this sheriff, he understands what the cyberpunk people are capable. So he's saying, you don't want to piss them off. You come over here all cavalier, big shot, thinking you just come save us all, but you can't. Like you haven't seen what they've done. Like I've seen what they've done. Like they're
exactly.
And
I'm seeing him as a full-blown John Boyega, Finn from Star Wars. He was part of the Empire.
Yeah.
He did kill people. He knows how the extent of their Death Star power. I'm just copyrighting everything here. Who cares? He knows the full extent of their weaponry. And he's like, listen to me.
No matter how hard we try, we cannot get away from Star Wars.
We refuse to get away from Star Wars. Yes. But it's Monday. But the idea is that's where he's coming from. He's coming from a soldier that's ashamed of what he's done. And Flex is a person who's a civilian who's ashamed for not doing something. That's their diametric. Mm-hmm. One's ashamed because of what they did. One's ashamed because of what they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, okay. I like that. I really like that.
You're pretty, but I'm smart. All right.
Damn.
He's
smart too. He's smart too.
Well, the little girl would have to be ashamed because of what she's not able.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that.
That's why I think that's part of the reason why she's like so attached to Flex.
Right.
Because that she can see that he has something that she can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be able to help her do something.
Exactly. He has the power she wishes she had, essentially. Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Perfect. That's a perfect.
The real power was the friends we made along the way. I'm sorry.
But that's a perfect dynamic, I think. Perfect group dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna.
No. Go ahead, please.
I just went off on a little thing and said the girl would end up getting cyberpunk like upgrades and then become a badass.
Now here's the thing. I'm 100% on board with that. I can see Nate as his goatee's glistening. It can't come easily. It had to be some kind of tragedy has to happen. Something has to happen where someone early, let's say at the end of in the middle of Act 2 or something, there's a part where the town Oasa gets invaded or what have you. There's a part of the battle, and she gets injured.
Yeah.
And then the sheriff or someone there in the town has to kind of say, well, we can give you this. We can help build you these type of things, essentially. So she gets her upgrade because she was injured.
She loses an arm or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that could also spur on Sheriff Mugen because he's seeing her courage also gives him courage too, like you said. So yeah, I see those unfolding. And I believe that is a very strong start for our first act into Act 2 with a couple of details for Act 2 and Act 3. But it feels strong. Stan, as our lead storyteller, how do you feel? Do you feel we got the
great? I've just been looking at Ari's just I'm excited. I can't believe we're already done.
We're not done. We're not done just yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And Ari's putting the finishing touches, but he's pretty. He's very, very pretty, but she yeah.
I'm physically incapable of no, that's not true. I just like drawing people that I find attractive. So
no, he's very pretty. But that's Flex. That's Flex.
See what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and for next time, please let me know any changes so that I can I know where to go in terms of rendering.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Awesome. Absolutely. And then again, just to hammer it in, I know as Nate gets ready to wrap this puppy up, just this is all because Stan had a character he wanted us to bring to life. We're gonna have a contest where anyone listening or watching can do the same thing. We'll have details come up later on. But if you want to be the next Stan, you will have opportunity to do so.
I won't say be better, but try.
All right, that sounds good. All right, well, yeah, I think that's a good place to stop it. So thank you, Stan, for joining us, and we'll be really excited to see you next week.
All right, thank you guys. It's been so much
Thank
fun.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
At Geek Insider, we foster relationships with those in the geek sphere so we can give our audience the insider view of entertainment, tech,